Welcome, everyone, back to the Nightcap. I am Aaron Smith. He is Dave Simone. And this show is, as always, presented by Galactic Fried Chicken. Visit www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. Get down to Dayton, Kentucky, and try out the top three. No, I don't think they're even number three. I think maybe two. But top three best chicken and best chicken sandwich in the city. Go check out Shane. Mention Pump It Up and save yourself. I think it's 10%. So we'll say 10% to be on the safe side. Chad's the one normally doing the reads. Chad's not here tonight.
Brought in the JV squad.
I know, pretty much. He's got the night off due to family emergency. So he's in our thoughts and prayers. He's shared it on Twitter already, so I don't feel so bad mentioning that. But in any case,
how do I get on this panel to judge the best chicken in Cincinnati?
It's done by City Beat, and it's voted on by people.
Oh, so you're not just like traveling around town getting to try all the chicken and then you decide?
I'm sure there's some of that, but I know that it was all done by City Beat magazine. But I believe the chicken sandwich at Galactic was a secret menu item at that point in time, so I'm not even sure how it was submitted.
Because I can be bribed. I mean, that's my whole point behind this. Like,
I'm certain that's true.
You know, if you want my vote, you know where to find me.
In any case, it's everyone's favorite segment. It is the AAC recap. I know that you're so excited to be a part of this segment tonight, Dave.
Hell yeah.
So let's get started with
some shitty football.
Let's get started with a game that I know that you watched. It is Tulane at Houston. Tulane ends up winning in overtime. They jumped to 4-1, now 1-0 in conference. Houston falls to 2-3. They are 0-1 in conference. I know Michael Pratt was out, and redshirt freshman Kai Horton gets the win, 11 of 21 for 132 yards, 3 touchdowns. Running back Tyjae Spears had 14 carries, 54 yards, 6 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown for the Green Wave. On the other side of the ball, Houston's Clayton Tune went 22 of, I believe, 33, if I can read my own handwriting, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, 14 carries, 56 yards. And Nathaniel Dell had 8 catches, 73 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Not one of Dana Holgerson's finer moments for a second week in a row.
I mean, the crazy thing, so yeah, Michael Pratt was out for Tulane. So Justin Iberetta or something started, drove them right down the field, and got hurt on the very first drive.
Okay.
So they were on their third quarterback, Kai Horton, as you said, who actually started against UC last year as a true freshman.
I recognize the name.
When the game prior, when Michael Pratt got his head bounced off the turf at SMU. So Kai Horton came in and was dreadfully bad, and yet somehow they won because they have a pretty darn good defense. Tyjae Spears is a really good running back who I like a lot, and Houston is just a train wreck.
I don't believe that Dana Holgerson, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe he blamed it on the team this time. I think he accepted some responsibility in losing to Tulane.
Yeah, I mean, they're a mess. They're the most penalized team in the country, which is hard to believe when you watch UC play.
Correct.
They've had a ton of injuries and even more big injuries Friday night. I'm not sure how long guys are going to be out for, but you know, it's just I don't know, man. Like, you should not be losing the home game. I don't care how good Tulane's defense is. They just lost last week to Southern Miss, and they come into your place with a third-string quarterback who completed like 5 passes the whole game. Didn't he? I mean, what was his number?
11 of 21.
Okay, for a long time, he was in the low single digits.
3 of those 11, though, were touchdowns.
Yeah. So you can't, like, that's just a dreadful loss.
Now, I know people on Twitter were talking about how they were worried that he was about to have a Tommy Tuberville go to hell, go get a job moment as
Oh, he yelled at the fans.
He was starting to bark at the fans.
When they decided to go into overtime, fans were booing, and he was just like, did some, like agitated arm wave thing. And yeah. I mean, I want a Dana Cam for all the rest of their games.
I think it'd be fantastic. I don't hate that idea at all. It might drudge up some money for the hapless AAC anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, they're a mess.
Next game on the slate, Navy drops to 1-3 to Air Force, who improves now to 4-1. Final score of 13-10. Air Force wins that one. Navy had a whopping 243 yards of offense, 36 total carries for the team for 114 yards for an average of 3.2 yards per carry. I mean, if you really want some stats, Ty Levitai was probably their best player as usual. 11 of 20 for 129 yards, 12 carries for 34 yards, and the sole touchdown.
He threw it 20 times?
He threw it 20 times.
Holy cow. I mean, obviously I didn't see any of this. Air Force is pretty good. Like, I think they're the best team in the Mountain West. So I was surprised that the score was as low and as close as it was. I think just when the service academies play each other, it just gets super, super triple-y. Like,
sure.
Every drive is 9 minutes, regardless if they score or not.
For 40 yards.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Navy's awful as well. So
there is that. Next game on the slate is Temple against Memphis, and Temple scored 3 points. They lose 24-3. Memphis improves to 4-1, 2-0 in conference. Temple drops to 2-3, 0-1 in conference. Temple had 297 yards of offense, so an improvement of about 50 yards over Navy. 22 carries for 52 yards and 2.4 yards per carry. And the only reason I bring that up is just to tell you, like, regardless of what you may think about Cincinnati's run game prior to last night, they're not as bad as some of the teams around the conference. It could be worse. Having less than 300 yards of offense in a game is atrocious in college football.
It's hard.
But E.J. Warner for Temple went 18 of 37 for 245 yards and 3 picks. Jose Barbone had 5 receptions for 134 yards. Memphis didn't do a whole lot better in offense with only 331 yards, 44 carries, 136 yards, 3.1 per carry. And Seth Hennigan goes 24 of 45 for 195 yards, 1 touchdown, 19 carries for 60 yards himself.
Oh my God, 45 attempts for less than 200 yards?
Yep.
Holy. E.J. Warner, Temple's quarterback, is the son of Hall of Famer Kurt Warner. So that's a fun fact. They were up 3-0, I believe, and then obviously didn't score again. Their defense is middle of the road, not terrible. Offense, very not middle of the road, very terrible. I still don't know what to make of Memphis. I don't think they're very good. I think they'll lose to any team that they play this year with a pulse. But
4-1 though, man.
Well, I know, but look at who they've played. And
I get it. Starting off 2-0 in conference is something to build on.
Yeah, they beat Navy and Temple. Congratulations.
Who between the two of them probably put up less than 500 yards of offense.
Oh, yeah.
Or thereabouts. Next on the slate, ECU puts a stomp on South Florida. They improved to 3-2. South Florida drops to 1-4. ECU now 1-1 in conference. South Florida 0-1 in conference. At a final score of 48-28. Holt Nailers goes 31 of 41 for 465 yards and 6 touchdowns. 4 of those touchdowns went to C.J. Johnson, who finishes with 7 catches, 197 yards, and those aforementioned 4 scores. On the other side of the ball for South Florida, Jerry Bohannon goes 18 of 28, 253 yards, 3 touchdowns, 13 carries, 74 yards, and 1 touchdown with his legs. And Jimmy Horn Jr. had 1 carry for 10 yards and 8 receptions for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. Is Holt Nailers back?
Well, I mean, when you get to throw the ball against USF, sure. This game was actually 41-7, so it wasn't close as the final. Congrats to USF on their first passing touchdown of the season.
Hey,
it's always good when you hit that in Jeff Scott, I feel bad for the guy. He took over a bad situation, and it has just not gotten any better. And I think he is not very long for the USF job. I would not be surprised if he, I don't think they'll fire him in the season, but I'll be surprised if he's their coach next year.
I feel like I saw a tweet about him walking aimlessly around his huddle, but not actually involved in the huddle during a timeout.
The Florida game was clearly a massive aberration because they followed that near victory up with a curb stomping to Louisville, who is not good, and now this total beatdown from ECU. So that their prize is now to come to UC, where they're going to be freezing cold as it dips into the low 60s this weekend. They'll probably have the heat seaters out.
Probably.
But yeah, they're not good. Their pass defense is one of the clear, obviously. Holt Nailers throws 10 incompletions and 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So
almost 5. I mean, not almost 500, but 465 yards, over 450 yards. That's crazy.
So yeah, I mean, they just. You always wonder, like, okay, are we so concerned now that we're going to do everything we can to stop UC's pass and then UC runs for a ton of yards or whatever? But yeah, they stink. I think I've said that we've talked about 3 games. I think I've said that 3 different times.
Well, 4 games. We had Tulane, Houston,
oh,
Navy,
that's
Air
right,
Force.
That's right. So
I know how easy some of these games are to forget or to remember.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure about ECU either. Like, they're better, but what does that mean? It's hard to take something from a game against USF. Like, I need to see them against somebody better.
I guess I'm just intrigued to see ECU do something like this away from home more than anything.
Right.
Holt Nailers traditionally plays much better at home, but and then the last game in conference was Cincinnati, of course, winning against Tulsa in Tulsa, and they now improved to 1-0 in conference, 4-1 overall, whereas Tulsa is now 2-3 and 0-1 in conference. Which brings me to the polls AP poll. Cincinnati is now in the top 25 at 24. Other teams of note.
Means nothing.
Other teams of note: Arkansas is at 30, BYU is at 16, and there are 9 one-loss teams ahead of Cincinnati. In the coaches poll, Cincinnati still on the outside looking in at 26. Arkansas right there at 25. BYU is at 16. There are 9 one-loss teams ahead of Cincinnati in the coaches poll, and now 2 two-loss teams ahead of Cincinnati in the coaches poll.
Who's that? Arkansas and who else?
It was Arkansas and
Baylor. Is Baylor still in there?
Potentially.
They've lost to BYU and Oklahoma State. It's like those aren't. I can live with the Baylor still being ranked.
It is Baylor. Baylor at 22 and Arkansas at 25.
I mean, the BYU thing does not matter for the New Year's Six. Like, they have no shot at it. Them finishing in the top 12 would only put them in position to be an at-large bid for a New Year's Six game. So, like, they cannot get the automatic. They are not part of the whole, like, highest-ranked group of 5 gets the automatic bid.
I didn't think so. I just thought it was of note that they're the only other not Power 5 team.
I know some people don't. Some people have. There's been some, like, misunderstanding, I think, along the way. So hopefully every single one of our members watches this, and that way they know now that BYU is not really a threat to be the automatic qualifier to a New Year's Six game.
If I'm being honest, though, I think the only thing that bothers me is 11 teams with 1 and now 2 losses ahead of Cincinnati in the coaches poll. And then again, that 9 teams with 1 loss ahead of Cincinnati when you have a team that only just dropped out of the top 25 in the AP poll in Arkansas. I think right now they're somewhere around, I think they're around 30 in the AP.
Yeah.
And then obviously them hanging around in the coaches poll. I don't know. These polls are weird. I largely blame it on the fact that you have a preseason poll and these rankings are all based off of the preseason poll.
Right, but we talk about it and it gets clicks, so that's why they do it.
Oh.
And most of these one-loss teams, like Wake Forest has a loss. They lost to Clemson in overtime. I'm not dinging them for that. Like NC State has a loss. They lost at Clemson. Georgia lost to Oregon, or Oregon lost to Georgia. Like, so there's not too many that I would be super. I don't think any of them are that good. They'll all move out. Most of them will move out at some point. Everybody's not going 10-2, 11-1. So, but I just think UC had that one marquee game and they lost it, and you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt when your wins are Kennesaw State, Miami, a bad Indiana team, and a Tulsa team that we know is pretty good and always plays UC pretty good, but they're not getting the attention for beating them like from a polling standpoint. They're 2-3, so they're going to look at that and just go, "Yeah, it was a nice win on the road, but doesn't move the needle."
Fair enough. Well, unless you got anything else, that'll pretty much wrap up the nightcap.
No, I talked as much AAC football as I could handle. 16 minutes is
more than enough.
Is my fill. I hope everyone enjoyed. As I said, the JV squad, the B team stepping in tonight. All the best to Chad and Kelly. Hopefully he can be back with all of us on these wonderful nightcaps as soon as possible.
Fair enough. Well, like I said, that'll wrap it up. Thanks again to Galactic Fried Chicken, as always, for sponsoring this show. He is Dave Simone. I am Aaron Smith. Bearcat Journal is the website, and we'll catch you tomorrow night with the BBP and another nightcap. See ya!